I was only 8 years old when my parents left me to die, abandoned on a muddy road, bleeding, terrified, screaming their names into the darkness. They thought the forest would finish me off, that the wolves would feast on my bones. But the forest didn't kill me, it raised me. The wolves didn't tear me apart. They taught me to hunt. I grew up in the shadows, my heart stitched together by rage. I trained my mind to be sharper than any blade, my hands to be deadlier than any gun. And now, I'm back. Older, colder, unforgiving. I've carved their names into my soul like gravestones. Every secret they've buried, I've dug it up. Every lie they've told, I'll make them choke on it. This is not just revenge, it's a reckoning. Because when you leave a child to die, don't be surprised when he comes back as a monster. If you're ready for a story of betrayal, vengeance, and the dark price of power, like, subscribe, and get ready, because this is only the beginning. The rain that evening felt like knives, slashing the tender skin of an 8-year-old boy as he ran barefoot through the forest. Ethan's thin clothes clung to his shivering body, heavy with mud and blood. His father's last words before pushing him out of the car echoed over and over, "If you live, never come back. Forget us." He didn't understand. All he saw was the terrified look on his mother's face as the car sped off, leaving him alone on the dark road. Hours later, he collapsed under a tree, breath ragged. Wolves howled nearby. His stomach clenched in terror, imagining sharp teeth tearing him apart. He tried to crawl, but his vision blurred. Then everything went dark. When he woke, a dim light warmed his skin. The smell of herbs filled his nose. His wounds were cleaned and wrapped. A gruff old man stood over him, eyes narrowed. "You're awake. Good. I hate burying kids." The man introduced himself as Mr. Hahn, a reclusive ex-agent hiding from his own bloody past. Ethan didn't care who he was, only that someone had saved him. Days passed. Mr. Hahn fed him, clothed him, taught him how to mend a wound and start a fire. At night, Ethan would cry silently, clutching the memory of his parents. Why did they abandon him? Why was he not enough? Mr. Hahn said nothing at first. But one night, he sat beside Ethan on the porch, a single lantern casting long shadows. "I know that look. It's the same look I had when my government betrayed me. Want revenge someday, kid?" Ethan didn't answer. He just stared into the darkness, eyes cold, heart starting to harden. Years later, Ethan would remember that question as he stood in front of a mirror, adjusting a tailored suit, a different man entirely. Yes, I want them to pay. Ethan's new life under Mr. Hahn was a brutal, relentless trial. At dawn, the old man would yank the thin blanket off Ethan's shivering body. Up. The world doesn't wait for the weak. They ran through jagged mountain paths until Ethan's lungs burned. When he stumbled, Mr. Hahn didn't slow. He barked cruel words that cut deeper than the stones slicing Ethan's bare feet. "If you fall behind now, imagine what your enemies will do to you." Afternoons were worse. Mr. Hahn would hand Ethan a dull blade and make him fight against swinging sacks of sand. When he sliced poorly, the blade would bounce, smacking his knuckles raw. His palms blistered, his arms trembled. Yet each day the cuts grew cleaner, faster, deadlier. Evenings brought something different. Strategy. Mr. Hahn taught him how to read people, how their eyes darted when they lied, how their breath quickened under stress, how arrogance always betrayed a hidden weakness. Over cracked teacups, they played endless games of Go, Ethan losing again and again until one miraculous night, he cornered Mr. Hahn's stones with a clever feint. Mr. Hahn's eyes narrowed with grudging respect. "You learn quick, faster than I ever did." But at night, alone in his small wooden room, Ethan's heart still ached. He would grip a faded photograph of his parents, torn at the edges. His mother smiled in it, holding his small hand. He remembered her soft voice reading him bedtime stories, the scent of lavender on her hair. "Why did you leave me? Why was I disposable?" He pressed the photo to his chest until sleep swallowed him. As years rolled by, Ethan's body transformed. By 15, he was lean muscle and quiet power. He could disarm traps, track footprints through moss, hack into secure networks with software Mr. Hahn smuggled in from old contacts. His mind was a steel trap, his hands instruments of silent death. Mr. Hahn, once cold and distant, began treating him like a son he never had. Sometimes Ethan caught him watching from the porch, eyes softening with a rare pride. One evening, over a crackling fire, Mr. Hahn said carefully, "You're ready, more ready than I ever was. But if you leave this place, there's no coming back. The world out there, it'll devour your soul if you're not careful. Ethan looked into the flames. Memories of his father's sneer and his mother's tearful eyes sliced through him like knives. I need to find them. I need to know why. And when I do, they'll see what they created. As dawn painted the sky blood red, Ethan stood at the edge of the forest, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder, Mr. Hahn's old watch on his wrist. Without turning back, he whispered, "Thank you, Father." Then he stepped into the world, a phantom born from pain, ready to hunt down the demons of his past. Seoul's skyline shimmered like a sea of diamonds. Towers of steel and glass rose into the evening sky, neon signs flashing promises of luxury and power. Ethan stepped out of the black sedan, his sharp suit hugging a frame honed by years of relentless training. He glanced at his reflection in the hotel's revolving door, the scar across his jaw barely visible under the soft lighting. It didn't matter. The scar reminded him every day who he was and why he'd come back. Inside the ballroom, laughter and the clink of crystal glasses filled the air. Politicians, business moguls, and celebrities mingled under chandeliers that cost more than most people's homes. Ethan moved among them with chilling ease, his every step calculated, his smile perfectly charming. His new identity was Ethan Hahn, the rising star of a Singaporean investment group. Months of building fake business deals and shell companies had paid off. The city's elites were hungry for foreign money. They never looked deeper than the gilded wrapping. He spotted Assemblyman Park, one of the 5 men who orchestrated his father's betrayal. The man was older now, hair silvered, eyes mean behind designer glasses. Beside him stood his daughter, Soyeon, a poised young woman who laughed politely at her father's jokes. Ethan's stomach twisted. This was the man who gave the final order that destroyed his family, who condemned an 8-year-old boy to die alone in the woods. Not yet, Ethan told himself. First I learn, then I strike. A waiter passed by. Ethan took a glass of champagne, swirling it as he approached Assemblyman Park with a smile. "Assemblyman, a pleasure at last. Ethan Hahn, from Orion Capital." Park's eyes lit up with greed thinly veiled as hospitality. "Ah, the young genius investor. I've heard much. We should talk over dinner soon. Perhaps my daughter can join us." Soyeon offered a polite nod. Her eyes were sharp, calculating, not as naive as she looked. Ethan gave a courteous chuckle, masking the icy surge of hatred in his veins. "I'd be honored. Let's build something meaningful together." Later that night, back in his penthouse, Ethan stood by the window overlooking the city. The view was breathtaking, but it was a battlefield to him. On his desk lay a dossier marked with red tabs: Park's offshore accounts, bribery trails, blackmail victims. Each page a blade Ethan would wield at the right time. He picked up a photo of Assemblyman Park shaking hands with another powerful man, Director Kang, head of internal security, and another orchestrator of the old massacre. Ethan's jaw tightened. 2 down, 3 to go. As he turned away, his phone buzzed. A single encrypted message appeared on the screen. "They're watching you already. Be careful, Ethan. J.H." Mr. Hand's old contacts still had eyes everywhere. Ethan smirked. Let them watch. It'll be the last show they ever see. Ethan's days became a dance on the blade's edge. By morning, he played the charming investor, closing deals, smiling for cameras. By night, he mapped out the rotten soul's elite, each thread tying back to the men who ruined his family. It was methodical. Beautiful, even. Until Soyeon began to intrude on his carefully guarded world. They met often now. Dinner parties, charity galas, quiet walks through art exhibits. At first, Ethan thought she was just her father's pawn, a pretty lure to snare wealthy investors. But as days passed, he glimpsed more. A gentle sadness beneath her composure. How her fingers trembled ever so slightly when she talked about her mother's death. How she seemed to flinch from her father's hand on her shoulder, even when it was meant to be affectionate. One evening, they found themselves alone on a rooftop garden, the city's neon heartbeat pulsing far below. Soyeon leaned against the railing, her elegant mask slipping. "Do you ever feel like you're trapped in a life that was decided before you were even born?" Her voice cracked, just for a second. Ethan's throat tightened. Of all the things he'd prepared for, bodyguards, hidden cameras, surprise attacks, this soft human confession was the one ambush he hadn't anticipated. "Every single day," he whispered. Their eyes met, an unspoken pain linking them. For the briefest moment, Ethan forgot why he was there. Forgot the dossiers, the plans, the knives waiting in the dark. He saw only her, a lonely woman as trapped by legacy as he was by revenge. But he couldn't afford softness. Later that night, back in his penthouse, Ethan stood under the shower, letting scalding water burn away the memory of her touch. His phone buzzed again. A video played, hidden camera footage from a bribe drop. Assemblyman Park stuffing envelopes of cash into Director Kang's briefcase. Proof. Enough to ruin them both. He should have felt triumph. Instead, his chest ached in a way that infuriated him. The next morning, he slipped into an abandoned parking garage, where his old handler, codenamed Ghost, handed him a slim briefcase. Inside was a sleek device capable of broadcasting Park's crimes across every major network in Korea. "You pull this trigger, Ethan, there's no going back," Ghost warned. "They'll hunt you to the ends of the earth." Ethan's smile was cold, hollow. "They tried to kill me once. They should have made sure I was dead." That night, Ethan stood by So-yeon's car as she prepared to leave a gala. Her eyes lingered on him, hopeful, uncertain. "Promise me," she whispered, "that whatever you're hiding, you'll be careful." He watched her drive away, a ghost of a life he could never have. Then he tightened his grip on the briefcase. "Careful is over. It's time they paid." Seoul awoke to chaos. At precisely 6 a.m., screens across the city flickered from morning commercials to a grainy video. Hidden cameras revealed Assemblyman Park and Director Kang exchanging thick envelopes, whispering about cover-ups and murdered innocents. An explosion of scandal. Reporters swarmed government buildings. Protesters flooded the streets, chanting for resignations and justice. By noon, both men were holed up in their sprawling estates, surrounded by private security. Ethan watched from his penthouse, sipping black coffee, eyes emotionless. "You buried me once. Now let's see how you like being dragged into the dirt." But revenge was never clean. As dusk fell, his phone buzzed with a chilling new message. "Your interference ends tonight. Consider this your final warning." Attached was a blurry CCTV image of So-yeon stepping into her car, unaware of the men in dark coats lurking nearby. Ethan's blood ran cold. Without thinking, he grabbed his gun and bolted. Tires screeched as he tore through the city streets. His hands clenched the steering wheel so tight his knuckles blanched. He cursed under his breath. This wasn't the plan. He was never supposed to care. When he reached So-yeon's family villa, he found her car abandoned, doors ajar. The guards out front were down, some groaning, some eerily still. Inside, chandeliers flickered as he moved like a shadow from room to room, gun raised. Then he found her. So-yeon knelt on the marble floor of her father's office, tears streaking her face, hands stained red. Assemblyman Park lay slumped against his massive oak desk, clutching a gut wound. Two masked men lay dead nearby, dispatched by Ethan's bullets moments before. Park's eyes rolled to Ethan, full of hate and fear. "You? It's you. I should have finished you years ago." His breath rattled, blood pooling faster now. So-yeon sobbed, pressing her hands over the wound, futile. "Daddy, stay with me. Please." Ethan watched, torn between fury and a hollow ache he didn't want to name. Finally, Park's hand fell away, eyes glazing over. "Gone." Silence settled like ash. So-yeon turned to Ethan, her voice cracking. "Why are you here? What is all this? Who are you really?" For a second, Ethan almost told her everything. About the little boy her father left to die, about years of training and shadows, but he swallowed it down. "Someone who wanted him to pay," he said coldly. "Nothing more." Her face crumpled, betrayal cutting deeper than any blade. Outside, sirens wailed, police and news vans converging. Ethan stepped back into the night, vanishing before So-yeon could call out again. As he disappeared into the darkness, his heart screamed with a grief he couldn't afford. This was the cost. The price of vengeance. And he wasn't done yet. Ethan knew it was coming. The storm he'd unleashed wouldn't stop with Assemblyman Park's death. Director Kang, rattled and furious, still held vast power, and now he had nothing to lose. By midnight, Ethan's safe houses were compromised. A network of hackers he once paid handsomely to scrub his tracks now reported break-ins, hard drives stolen, firewalls crumbling under relentless cyber attacks. "He's moving faster than I expected." But it was the bodies that finally told Ethan just how desperate Kang had become. Two of Mr. Han's old contacts were found dumped in an alley, throats slit, a cruel warning etched in blood. Hours later, Ethan sat in a dingy tech shop, sweat dripping from his brow as he pounded code into a laptop, eyes scanning lines of security feeds. He caught a flicker on one grainy screen. So-yeon. She was being escorted by Kang's men, her face pale, eyes haunted. Of course, he thought bitterly. She's leverage, insurance if I come too close. The final confrontation set itself like destiny. Kang's private compound was an icy fortress outside the city, surrounded by electric fences and mercenaries who shot first and questioned corpses later. Ethan moved through them like a wraith, silencer purring death in the dark. Each man who fell brought him closer to the heart of the rot. Inside, marble hallways echoed with his soft footsteps. His gun was steady, breath even. But inside, a war raged. This was supposed to be about his parents, his stolen childhood. The graves that never should have been, not her. And yet, when he finally burst through the gilded doors of Kang's office, it wasn't Kang he saw first. It was So-yeon, tied to a chair, bruises painting her perfect skin. Her eyes widened at the sight of him. Ethan, don't. A thunderous crack cut her words short. Kang fired from behind his massive mahogany desk, bullets tearing into the wall inches from Ethan's head. Gunfire erupted. Ethan dove, rolled, returned fire. Shards of wood exploded. Kang screamed as a bullet tore through his shoulder. He staggered, dropping his gun. Ethan was on him in seconds, grabbing him by the collar, slamming him against the wall. You remember the Kim family? Ethan hissed, his face inches away, eyes burning with cold fury. You left an 8-year-old boy to die because it was politically convenient, Kang wheezed, blood bubbling at his lips. It was your father. He was going to expose us all. You should have stayed dead. A single, precise shot ended it. Kang's body slumped to the floor, lifeless eyes staring at nothing. Ethan stood there, chest heaving, vengeance finally complete, and felt nothing. He turned to So-yeon, quickly cutting her free. But as he touched her wrist, she recoiled, tears spilling over. How many people did you kill for this, Ethan? How many lives destroyed so you could settle an old score? His throat tightened. He tried to answer, but there were no words clean enough. He had become everything he once despised. Outside, the sun began to rise, staining the windows gold. Ethan stood by the shattered doorway, watching as So-yeon slowly walked past him without a backward glance. From grass to grace, he thought bitterly. Or maybe just from innocence to monster. Weeks passed. Seoul had begun to heal from the chaos Ethan unleashed. Director Kang's empire crumbled under investigations, with hidden ledgers and leaked confessions ensuring the other conspirators scattered like roaches. News anchors praised anonymous heroes who helped topple decades of corruption. But Ethan felt none of that victory. He drifted through crowded streets like a ghost, face hidden under a ball cap. The city he had saved from its own rot didn't know him, didn't want him. And maybe that was fair. The cost had been so high, lives ended, innocence shattered. He wandered to the outskirts, to the quiet place where it all began. Mr. Han's old cabin stood empty, dust motes swirling in sunbeams through shattered windows. Ethan knelt on the porch, fingers tracing the grooves in the wood where he once practiced his knife strikes as a child. Memories rose unbidden. Mr. Han's gruff laughter, the nights they shared stale tea by the fire, the rare mornings when it almost felt like he belonged to a real family. He bowed his head, a hollow ache twisting in his chest. I did it, old man. I kept your promise. They'll never hurt anyone again. But there was no warmth in the words, only the lonely wind whispering through pine needles. He returned to the city one last time, hoping for, he didn't know what, maybe to see her, maybe to punish himself by knowing he could never have her again. So-yeon sat on a bench by the Han River, hair dancing in the breeze. No guards now, her father gone, her name tarnished by association, yet somehow she looked freer. More herself. Ethan approached slowly. She looked up, and for a long breath, neither spoke. The weight of all they'd been through lay thick in the air. Finally she whispered, voice breaking, I hated you. I hated you for ruining everything I thought I knew. But part of me knows you were the only one brave enough to do it. He swallowed hard. I never wanted to drag you into this. You were the one thing I didn't plan for. So-yeon's eyes filled with tears, but her smile was bittersweet. Maybe you didn't drag me. Maybe I chose to stay close to someone who made me see the truth, even when it hurt. For a fragile second it felt like something new might bloom between them. But Ethan knew better. His hands were stained, his future uncertain. The wounds inside him were too deep. He stepped back, shaking his head. I'm leaving Korea, somewhere far. I've done enough damage here. So-yeon nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Then at least promise me you'll live. Don't throw yourself away. If you can't find forgiveness here, maybe you can find it somewhere else. Later, on a remote airstrip, Ethan boarded a small plane. As it lifted over Seoul, he looked down at the glittering city, a place of memories, ghosts, and unfinished dreams. From ashes to honor, he thought, almost smiling. Or maybe just from ashes to a chance at tomorrow. Above the clouds, the sun broke free, bathing the world in gold. For the first time in years, Ethan let himself believe that beyond revenge, beyond ruin, there might still be light. From a boy left to die in the mud, to a man who made kings tremble. Ethan's story wasn't just about revenge, it was about surviving a world that tried to bury him, and standing tall, no matter how deep the scars ran. But in the end, even monsters crave redemption. If you'd love more stories like this, filled with betrayal, heartbreak, and the sweet taste of vengeance, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Because trust me, this is only the beginning. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next story.